ومن والاه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Mr. Chairman, members of the High Table, respected venerable leaders, the audience, the press, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I am deeply honored and privileged to be given this uphill and divine task to speak on behalf of Gambian Muslim youth in relation to the Constitution we deserve. The mandate of the CRC as stipulated in Section 6 of the 2017 CRC Act is to draft a new constitution for the Republic of the Gambia and prepare a report in relation to the drafting of the new constitution. To draft a new constitution, the CRC is required to review the 1997 constitution and in the process consult with Gambians at home and abroad in order to seek their opinions on what they aspire to see included in the new constitution for the Republic of the Gambia. In view of the above, the Assembly of Gambian Muslim Youth, AGAMY, deemed it necessary to consult with the representatives of various student and Islamic youth organizations in the Gambia in order to solicit their opinions in relation to the consultation or to the constitution they aspire. Therefore, a 2-day consultative seminar was organized by AGAMY from the 22nd to the 23rd December 2018 at the Supreme Islamic Council's Doha Conference Hall at Kanifing with the theme, The Constitution We Deserve. I have a pamphlet to present, but because of time, I'll just try to go straight to the point that the gathering agreed. Now, opinions raised for due consideration and adoption. The following are opinions unanimously raised and agreed upon by participants. We have presented the opinions below in simple bullet points with accompanying justification for due consideration and adoption. 1. Non-discrimination of Muslims. Section 25 of the 1997 Constitution guarantees religious freedom. It is the basic civil right of any Gambian to belong to any religion that he or she chooses, freedom of association as embedded in the 1997 Constitution. However, Muslims are now increasingly being discriminated against mainly due to their dress codes, perhaps emboldened by countries abroad who have clearly and publicly banned the wearing of headscarves in public places and institutions, which goes against the very principles of democracy which they themselves preach. AGAMY has investigated and ascertained that certain foreign private sector companies in this country, schools, banks, hotels, restaurants, etc., not to name any specifically, do not allow Muslim women to put on headscarves and proper Islamic attire to work. Muslim men are also not allowed to grow their natural God-given beards, even though some of staff in such companies are Rastafarians, dreadlocks, and so on. This is a clear discrimination against Muslims based on their faith, which should be disallowed in the Constitution of the Gambia. Such discrimination could lead to increased insecurity and high potentials for the radicalization of discriminated Muslim youth. The new Constitution should therefore ensure that entrant and non-entrant clauses should avoid discriminating against Muslims in public as well as in private institutions. Furthermore, the gathering also resulted to that the Constitution should empower the Supreme Islamic Council and AGAMY that represent Gambian Muslim youth. The Supreme Islamic Council should be empowered and recognized as the legitimate institution which should advise government on all Islamic matters. Recognizing the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council as the paramount legal Islamic body on all Islamic matters would help the government effectively monitor and regulate the activities and ideologies of various Islamic organizations within the Gambia, so as to prevent extremism and terrorism-motivated activities that will undoubtedly hamper the peace, stability, and security of the Gambia. All Islamic groups seeking to form legal associations, organizations, should initially be registered with the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council and given certificates of no objection prior to their registration with the Attorney General's chambers and the Ministry of Justice. The SIC and AGAMY should have representatives in Parliament as nominated members. These two groups should be granted permanent seats at the National Assembly to proportionately represent the voice of the Muslim majority in the country, which is strategically aligned with democratic values to cater for the absolute majority, as we are the 96% of the population. On secularism, the Gambia should remain a sovereign republic and not a secular republic. The Gambia should continue to be a religious tolerant society with respect for human rights, good and moral values, cultural, religious, and ethnic differences. The non-secularization of the country should be an intent clause in the new constitution. The 96% of Gambian Muslims believe and accept. The 96% Gambian Muslims believe and accept the existence of one God as the sublime creator. Religion is a major guiding principle in the lives of 96% Gambians. Gambians take oath for political and public offices. During court proceedings, the complainants or a defendant are at most times required to be under oath so as not to commit perjury. The administration of such oath is a clear demonstration of the sanctity of religion and its belief, which enhances general public trust and confidence that public officers shall not be in breach of their official contracts and that the dispensation of justice in court shall prevail. Gambians are religious people who observe several religious festivals and holidays. The secularity of the Constitution could in future advertently become a limitation and restriction to the expression of religious and cultural identities, freedom, belief system, and practices. The sovereignty of the Gambia should be an intent clause in the new constitution, since the CRC issues document is silent about secularism and the issue was not adequately discussed during its public consultations. Gambian Muslims therefore recommend that secularism should not be included in the new constitution. On the Qadi Court, empowering the Qadi Court and promoting a Sharia-friendly constitution. Sharia, which is the personal law of Muslims, is by virtue of Section 7F of the 1997 Constitution, part of the laws of the Gambia, applicable to members of the community to which it applies, that is Muslims. The Qadi Court, which is the only court vested with the competent jurisdiction to hear and determine cases according to Sharia, according to Section 137(4) of the 1997 Constitution, only applies Sharia in the following cases: marriage, divorce, and inheritance. The three aforementioned areas are the current jurisdiction of the Qadi Court in the Gambia. We believe that this jurisdiction of the Qadi Court should be expanded to include other issues such as custody, maintenance, gift, bequest, and endowment, in order to further administer the affairs of Muslims according to Sharia. If the Gambia is truly democratic and respects fundamental human rights of people, then the Constitutional Review Commission should draft provisions in the new constitution that will liberate the Qadi Court to hear and determine cases, be it civil or criminal, according to Sharia. The issues document of the Constitutional Review Commission is questioning whether the Qadi Appeal Selection Committee should be abrogated or otherwise co-opted into the Judicial Service Commission. What is this justification for such a question? This, if allowed, will weaken or subject the Qadi Courts to a rule or a system other than Islam. It is our opinion that the Qadi Court system should not be intertwined with the common law court system, where the Chief Justice and the Attorney General, who may not be Sharia qualified, serve as members of the Qadi Appeal Selection Committee. Rather, the Qadi Court should be a separate and independent judicial mechanism that would serve as an alternative dispute resolution mechanism for Muslims to the common law court system, where Muslims will seek and enforce justice through that system. What adequate justification is there for the chairman of the Qadi Appeals panel to be a legal practitioner? The person required to exercise this power is only required to decide cases according to Sharia and not to the common law, which makes any prerequisite qualification as a legal practitioner for the said position quite unnecessary. While any qualification as a legal practitioner would indeed serve as an added advantage, Sharia qualification as encapsulated in Section 137A 5 of the 1997 Constitution should, however, be the ultimate judging criteria, which requires the chairman of the Qadi Appeals Panel to be a legal practitioner of at least 5 years post-court experience, should only serve as a persuasive criteria. The CRC issues document is also questioning whether there should be further appeal channel from the Qadi Appeals Panel to the Supreme Court. This, in our view, is not legitimate. The system of laws applicable to the Qadi Court and the Supreme Court are different and parallel. Furthermore, there is no person in the Supreme Court that we know of, apart from the current serving Chief Justice, who is Sharia-oriented, to be able to sit over matters of Sharia. Therefore, making a provision for further appeals from the Qadi Appeals Panel to the Supreme Court will not only be prejudicial to the parties seeking justice, but also unjust and unfair. This act is logically unfit for human consumption. We indeed recognize the need for the establishment for another separate appellate court where appeals from the Qadi Appeals Panel can go to a superior appellate court that will function to resolve disputes among Muslims from the Qadi Appeals Panel. However, this should not be done through the Supreme Court as already elaborated above. Sharia law should continue to form part of the laws of the Gambia. In view of all of the above and much more, we are 96% of the population, and we must be adequately catered for. Muslims, who are the absolute majority in this country, cannot become the new minority. I think I have to skip some areas. But the other one is definition and practice of marriage. Marriage should be clearly defined in our new constitution as a legal union only between a man and a woman of legal age and with the full consent of both marrying parties. No Muslim woman or man should be married against his or her will. This should be an intent clause in the Constitution. Let me skip. Another one is criminalization of drugs and alcohol. Existing law on the use and trafficking of illicit drugs, cannabis, heroin, cocaine, etc., should be further enforced and policed. This shall no doubt reduce the high levels of crime rates and youth delinquency aggravated by illicit drugs. The other one is banning and criminalization of gambling. Economically, gambling causes serious economic losses to individuals and organizations. No state economy is developed through gambling. It is a means of money laundering. Gambling encourages joblessness and unproductivity. Gambling increases crime. Youths will resort to petty thefts, organized crime, armed robberies, and heavy borrowing in order to gamble. Gambling is highly addictive, which has destroyed many homes and marriages, distracting students from pursuing stable academic and vocational career development paths. Controlling tourism and the tourism development area, TDA. Tourism has imported many undesirable and very foreign elements which are unacceptable to our culture, traditions, values, norms, and belief system as Gambians. Tourists roam the country dressed semi-nude in public places. The beauty of our beaches have now become eyesores, soiled with nude and semi-nude tourists making out with lovers in plain sight. Tourists entering this country should be screened, that is background checks for criminal records, etc. Holiday makers and our top operators should be requested to screen all of their customers and present screen reports to the head of the tourism security unit. Tourists have been arrested in this country for committing sex acts with minors in the beaches, possession and peddling banned narcotics, filming and disseminating pornography, and promoting homosexuality and prostitution. These acts and many more, especially child sex tourism, are now on the acute increase due to unchecked and uncensored tourism. Conclusion. Participants are attentive to the fact that all of their opinions and points raised are within their democratic rights. Therefore, the CRC should appropriately regard them as important issues which affect the lives and livelihoods of Muslim youths, national security, and the overall development of the country. These views should therefore be given the rightful constitutional recognition and treatment they deserve. Participants also prayed for the success of the CRC, knowing fully well the enormous and daunting task that the government of the Gambia and its people have played on their soldiers. AGAMY and its partners shall strongly support the CRC in the execution of this important national development task to draft a new and progressive constitution for Gambians and the Gambia. Recommendations. The study of constitutional matters should be included in the school education curricula as early as primary school and up to tertiary level, so as to better sensitize and orient Gambians on the values, rights, responsibilities of democracy. The citizenry and citizenship, according to the Gambian Constitution, the Judicial Service Commission, in partnership with the National Council for Civic Education, should organize periodic sensitization programs for the general public, members of parliament, and civil servants on the Constitution and constitutional reforms. Representatives from the GSIC and AGAMY should be nominated to serve as members in the Judicial Service Commission. Representatives from the GSIC and AGAMY should also be selected to serve as members in the CRC technical committees for drafting of a new constitution. The definition and application of secularism, I think we have talked about these ones. Basically, just to summarize, we have a booklet here, almost around 12 pages that we could share with the organizers to show the stance of the Muslim youth on this constitutional draft issue. So time will not allow me to go over everything, but it is very comprehensive. It has touched many areas. So when we reach here, wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.